Good afternoon, Dr. Rolle. It's good to see you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's so good to see you too.
Thank you. As our newest faculty member, you are an assistant professor and director of Fieldwork.
Yes, I am.
For the Graduate School of Counseling.
Yep.
Before we get into what everybody wants to know, all the questions I'm going to ask you today, could we begin with you talking us through part of your journey to becoming Dr. Marcella Rolle?
Yes. It's so interesting. I was having this conversation with my mom yesterday, and I said, I wonder if I would make this decision again if I had to do it all over again. I've always wanted to be an educator. I always knew ultimately that's what I would end up doing. But, during sort of my career journey, I just kind of got caught up in this idea of sort of serving people. I in a home where ministry was at the forefront. So I wanted to try to find a serve. I thought that would be as an attorney, and I was just like, no, this is not it. So I started in, working as a counselor, then started working with families in the school setting, and it just really became infectious. And I knew, what was happening out, I was running into poorly trained counselors, particularly culturally sound counselors in the South where I was growing up. And so I thought, how can I best assist there? And that is where I thought, let's take this journey to become a doctor and to teach at the adult level. And that's really kind of how I got started in there. And then 5.5 years later, here we are. People are calling me Dr. Marcy, and I'm like, Marcy's fine.
Yeah. So you are from the South.
I am born in Florida, raised in Tennessee, and then did all of my adulting in Georgia. So when I moved to Philly, I was moving from Georgia after being there since 2004.
Okay. So I have to share that you and I have something in common.
We do.
Which excited me the moment I found out.
I still can't believe it.
So we are both alum of Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's so exciting. I mean, you say the aristocratic bands and people don't know, but when you find a person that knows, we are home. So that is so exciting. I can't believe it. It's so nice to have that connection here.
I can't wait to touch base with you off on a different occasion.
Yes.
Just share and talk.
Yes.
So I have a question. Our Missio community, we would love to hear what brought you to Missio, but specifically, if you could elaborate on what it is about Missio Seminary that had you say, this is where I want to be.
Yeah. So that's such a good question. The funniest part of what brought me here, I said, even during my interview process, was my dad. And it's so funny. I'm sitting in his office now. He knew that I was kind of searching for something different in my life. And I think he took a shot in the dark at sending me a seminary because I'm very much like, no, Dad, I don't want to be a preacher. None of this stuff. I just want to be a counselor. And he sent it. And I will say I was immediately fascinated at how such a spiritual and even Christian-based seminary was operating a counseling program, because oftentimes those two can conflict within the church setting. And so I was just like, I don't even know if this is where I'm going to end up, but I need to talk to these people and I want to learn more. And I will say I was just blown away by the heart to just serve people in that capacity and to see that they recognize that service can go outside of the four walls of the church. And so for me, I was like, okay, this may be the selling point here. And then, I would just researching interview after interview, meeting the people, knowing that they were hiring a lot of alumni to work here. All of that just kind of created such a beautiful picture. And not just that, I thought, this seems like a safe environment to grow, to flourish, and then to nurture other people. So yeah, that's kind of the short answer, I guess, for why I chose Missio.
Well, that's amazing. Now, how did your dad find out about it?
I know. I think that my dad secretly keeps a watch on Seminary base. I didn't even know he was searching for me or anything, and then I was like, this is right here in Philadelphia. Because, I'm used to my dad sending me things to bring me back to Georgia.
Oh.
he sent that and he's like, Marcy, just take a look at this. I want to say it really was an ordained thing. I think God led him there, and I don't even know if he knows all the moving parts. But I remember sitting and discussing some of the philosophy and the foundations of the mission and the value for Missio with my dad. And I was like, let's just unpack this, see where we are. And he was sold, so I was like, okay, let's figure out what happens. But I really think it was a God thing for sure, Nicole, because he knows, kind of how one track my mind was as it relates to career. But it just worked out so beautifully.
And I can see how God was instrumental.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we see that in a lot of things when we're looking, but sometimes we don't look.
Absolutely.
And we just think, oh, it kind of just happened. But to hear you say, and to hear the story of your dad finding it in the South.
I know. I know. And we're not just like in the South. We are 2.5 hours south of Atlanta, very rural South. So for him to find a seminary in Philadelphia, it definitely was God. It definitely was God, because it was just placed in our path. So for sure.
That's amazing. Now, is he coming up, or has he been to Philadelphia to see where you'll be working?
He's been to Philadelphia, but not since I got the job. So they'll probably be coming up. I came here first, but they'll be coming up for one of the holidays. So I'm excited to show him the space and everything. And I'm really excited for him to meet Dave. And I'm pretty sure Dave's excited to meet him. So I can't wait to introduce them. He has some of Dave's books that really are supposed to be for me. So Dad was like, oh, yes, I have to read these. So I feel like there's going to be an instant connection there.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yes.
So I have one question I'd like for you to kind of tease out. What are you most looking forward to in your in your new position? Because there's a lot. Like you'll be teaching, you'll be directing fieldwork, you'll be mentoring, you'll be doing a lot of different things, leading, guiding students, sharing wisdom.
Yep.
What are you most looking forward to?
So, I'm going to take a different direction with answering this question, and it's going to feel so heavily religious and spiritual, but I'm going to trust my gut here and still go. I am most looking forward to, as a Black woman in academia, deciding not to go in here with a protection shield up and to just say, I trust the God in this space and these people. I've never done that in my professional career. This has always been a space, particularly growing up in the South as an educated Black woman, I've always gone in with a protective shield first. And I remember saying to Dr. James, as well as Hannah, I am going to trust the space, the students, and everything. And I am nervous out of my mind, but I really am most looking forward to see then what God does in a space in which I'm choosing to allow him to protect me. So that's one.
Amen.
And what you choose to do with that response is your own, but that is the true response there.
Well, I choose to shout and say amen.
That's the true response. And then, after that, I think I am so looking forward to engaging face-to-face with the students. That is just that's like, I love it. And then being able to do it freely. I said in one of my interviews that, oftentimes I have to present the profession within sort of a professional framework, and I cannot always bring in my beliefs. And so because the school so aligns with how I show up in the world, being able to really settle into a space of authenticity that I've not been able to do, I'm so looking forward to that. And then encouraging students to do it as well. I'm very excited about that.
And I'm glad you know that. And that makes me feel good because I've been at Missio as a student for 2 degrees, working on my 3rd, but as a staffer for less than a year. But what you're saying is what I experienced.
Oh, wow.
And it's safe and they're authentic. They're genuinely who they say they are. And that's important for me. Because I've worked in corporate America where they say one thing, but it's the exact opposite.
Absolutely.
And I don't do well with that.
I know I don't. I need that consistency. So yeah, I love that you said that. I love that. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Nicole.
Absolutely. So you mentioned seminary, a counseling school, graduate school in a seminary, and you don't normally find that. That's it's unique in a sense.
Yes.
And I think that's something that a lot of people may share, that they don't know about a counseling program within a seminary that prepares them the same way as non-seminary, right? As a secular school.
Yes.
So if we could just pause there and just kind of talk about that. How do we help students or potential students to see that even though it's seminary, you're being prepared to do the same thing at other schools, but there's more, like something that you're not gonna, so how do we help and share that?
Yeah, so that's a really, really interesting question that I have actually been sitting with for some time, particularly as we think about what we want to do related to accreditation for the counseling program. Because one of the things that I said was we don't want to change the mission and the essence of the school trying to conform to accreditation standards. But we do want to realize that the program can meet accreditation level and still keep its identity. So for me, it means that my desire is to make sure students recognize that how you show up in the world as a clinician is needed just as much as some of the cookie cutters we're kind of pushing out in some of the other spaces. The other thing is, I think as an institution, we really are going to have to stay aware of, and I can tell that we do, of sort of the restraints on showing up authentically, particularly as a Christian in our society, because that influences the profession, and particularly the profession of counseling. It is saturated with things that don't necessarily align with how we show up as Christians. So really drilling in this idea that, we can be 100% Christian as well as 100% ethically sound in the counseling way. And I think one of the things that Hannah is doing is saying, we need counselor educators. We need PhD level counselor educators who understand the importance of guidelines and principles, as well as who are grounded in their faith. And when we can bring those two things together, then there's really no stopping what seminaries could do as far as programs are concerned. Then there's really no stopping them from competing with very mainstream programs right up the street, right? Within 5-mile distance, there are like 4 other programs doing the same thing, if not less, as you said before. So I think it is going to be about staffing, helping students to understand what it means to show up authentically in their identity, recognizing that one does not have to exist without the other. They can both coexist, right? And then us as professors really enforcing what it means to be principled, to be accredited, as well as to be faithful in your own space. I think Hannah, I'm so excited. Like Hannah's doing such a wonderful job by herself. So I just told her, I was like, girl, I am so excited for what you are creating. And just to be able to come alongside that here, I certainly can see it just being such a beautiful framework for how other people can duplicate the same thing in their space.
That is true. Like everything you're saying is so on target. My first degree was counseling from Missio. And the heart piece was critical for me. And you don't know what you don't know about yourself until,
yes.
until, and, you know, if you're not working on that heart to be better, to be genuine, to help others authentically, you know, it makes it more of a challenge.
It really does.
And I think without that peace, without that faith and love and spirit, then I would not be the counselor that I was supposed to be.
Right.
And I honestly can say I owe that to Missio, because I wouldn't have connected those dots and identified those areas that needed growth and development if it hadn't been built into the structure of that program. In addition to the therapy and diagnosing and treating. Right. You can do that, but you also, you know, you have to have internal, personal growth.
You really do. You really do. And I love what you're saying, because essentially what you're saying is you can teach theory and skill. You cannot teach heart. You got to walk in here with that. And you have to walk in here being willing to be challenged in how you show up in the world, right? Everything else we can teach you. And honestly, you can learn it without this program. But what makes this program so unique is that we really are going to challenge and then uplift the hearts of our students here, which gives them such unique tools to offer their clients. So that's so exciting. So
awesome. Well, I am grateful to you. I am grateful that God directed your steps.
Yay.
Here. Thank you to your dad for playing a role.
Right? For being a willing vessel. We thank him for that.
And we can't wait. And the students can't wait. They loved you since that session that you taught. Yeah. And we are just blessed and very excited to have you. So thank you so much. Absolutely. And looking forward to some face-to-face time.
Yay, me too. I can't wait. As soon as I get back, I'll probably email you so that we can try to get some time together.
Yes, would love that.
Yay.
Will you be blessed? Be safe. Enjoy Georgia.
I will.
And we will connect soon. Thank you so much, Dr. Rolle.
All right. You're welcome, Nicole. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.